I can use lots of VPCs there. And okay, let me see. It's going to be the same. It's just that we're using a VPC A. So let's use 10.0.0.0. I hope I don't have to delete VPCs. Okay, great. So I'm using North California. That's US West 1. So I'll be using this for our labs. So that's how you create the first VPC, VPC A. We have given it the CIDR range of 10.0.0.0.0/16. Let's go ahead and create the next VPC, which is going to be VPC B. So you click on that, you VPC B, and I'm going to use 10.0.0, 10.1.0.0/16. That's what we have. And I'll maintain that to false, then I'll create that. So let's create VPC C.
So what was the CIDR range again, please? The same CIDR range?
10.1.
Okay.
It's 10.1. There is a you can also download the PDF file in case you don't have it. It's on chat. I can share the link again in case you missed that. Okay, thank you. So have VPC C, and this one is going to use 10.2.0.0/16. That's VPC C is using that, right? So that's the first step in our lab, to create different VPCs. So this is the process of creating your virtual private cloud. So you can say you've just created each of that. You can just call it your data center, because the cloud is just networking and a data center, right? So creating a virtual private cloud is basically creating your data center in the cloud. So on the lab, that is on page 5, we are going to create now some subnets, and we are going to assign those subnets to different availability zones, right? But before we go ahead, I just want to use the Subnet Calculator, which I know that is very useful here. I did bring that up. So we have VPC A. We know that VPC A is using 10.0.0.0/16. I think I can still show this for those who for those who still have questions. And I know after some point, everyone should get this. It's very important if you are going to understand the cloud to actually know how this works, right? 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 6, 7, 8. Now, when you always have an IP address, this is the range that we have used for VPC A. When you have it given as this is the base, right? You can't do anything with it. And this and the /16 means, because this is always when you see an address written 10.0.0, it means that you have here, you always have 8 bits for each address, right? 8 bits, and all of them together form 32 bits. So when you see this network range given to you, it means that all addresses starting from That's for 2, 4, 6, 8. It means that all the A is here, because the A here can be 1 or 0. This B can be 1 or 0, C can be 1 or 0, D can be 1 or 0, because it's binary, right? You are dealing with bits here. So when you see slide 16, it means that all that you have here is 1, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of that will be 1, 1. This one will also be 1, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the remaining will be 0, 0. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's what slide 16 means, and it can also be written in the form 255.255.0.0. So this is equivalent. You can write 10.0.0.0 slide 16. Slide 16 is showing the network marks. And actually, you can also write that as in this form. There are always two formats to write that. So most people, so don't be so. Most people always use, or most literature always use this one because it's short form. But this is equivalent to this. So this is equivalent to this. The arithmetic of how this can be done, I know Akpo did show that sometime, and if you still have problems about it, I know it can take a lot of time. We can take some time again to go through it, but I want us to focus to the labs today. If you still have problem on how, it's not very important, but it's not very important because you have online tools that can do it. That's why I'm saying it's not important, but knowing how it comes about is also good. But just know that when you see slide 16, it means that all the first 8 bits are 1, 1, which can be written in this format. And that's your base. Now you can take this address space that you have and create subnets. And I've said you have the major network, which is this one. Subnets means sub networks. So that means I can decide that I have these bits here that I can use, right? Because I'm slide 16 means I can't change anything here, but I can manipulate these ones as I want to create a certain number for subnets and then a certain number that will go for IP addresses. And that's why you can take this same address now, and because you want to subnet it, you decide to give /24. /24 now means you are going to use the next 8 bits for your subnet. So this will become 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which means that this can also be written in the form can also be written in this format, but because you have the C's also as 1, 1, it will be in this form. So when you are subnetting, it means you are taking some bits to create subnets and you are leaving the other extra bits for your IP addresses, for your host. So you actually use this 8 and you say you are going to create subnets, and we're going to use that on the calculator, and that's how it will look like. So if I put this entry on the calculator, so I have this network base, that is the 10.0.0.0/16. That's what I have. I want to use /24 for my network. So that means 255.255.255.0/24, as I've explained here. So that's the subnet mask I'm using now. It will then automatically calculate the number of hosts I'll have per subnet, and will also calculate the number of subnets I'll have. So that's why you have subnet 1, will have this. The subnet address for subnet 1 will be this one. This will be the subnet address. And then this will be the range of IP addresses that you can assign to Ec2's instances in this subnet. And the last one will always be your broadcast IP, as I explained already. So these are the different subnets that you have. These are the ones, so you can assign this subnet to a particular availability zone, And then, yeah, you can assign, or you can assign this one. And that's what we are going to do now. In subnetting, we have our big VPC. We have the network address range. We are going to use for VPC A, we are going to use these different subnet and assign them to the different to our availability zones. And this will also be the same when we'll be doing B. We just need to come here because B has this CIDR range 10.1. We'll also come and do the same here and then give it /24. Will automatically give us the subnet. So we don't need to do, if you don't know, if you don't have this tool, then you have to do it manually by calculating, which is what is challenging for most people. So let me bring the lab here just to show where we are going to now. I have that on the lab. So for VPC A, this is what we have. And then, so we'll use 10.0.0 for one of the subnets. We'll use this other one also for the subnet here. Then for B, we'll do the same. So we're going to create subnets now for VPC A. Let's go ahead and do that. So you come to subnet. And then under subnet, I'm going to click create subnet. Is everyone following along? Any problems? Please just let me know. I just want to be sure. You can put your questions on chat, or you can also indicate. Is everyone there?
So far, so
Yes.
good with me.
Yes, we are there.
Great, okay. So to create a subnet, you have to pick which VPC you want to create that subnet in. It's just logical, right? So we're going to pick VPC A. And now from the calculation we did, I want to make sure that I'm consistent with what I have on the lab. So I'm going to use the 10 dot for VPC A, that's the one that has 0, right? 24. So I'm going to use, I'm going to use, what am I going to call this subnet? What did I have it here? Okay, availability zone 1. So subnet, I'm going to give it the name VPC A, availability zone AZ1. And I'm going to use US East 1A. Now there's no US East, US West 1A. There's no US West 1B here. So when we'll come, we'll be using US West 1C. But the first availability zone here, we'll use US West 1A. And then of course it needs an address range. And now I'm going to use this one, but then the subnet mask will be 24. So I'm going to use 10.0.0. 10.0.0. I'm going to use /, 10.0.0/24 because it's a subnet. And then I'm going to go ahead and create, right? Sorry, anything?
Yeah, the CIDR is the IPv4 not same?
Sorry?
Why is it /24?
That is what we are saying here. We are using the subnet. We are creating a subnet mask, right? We are
Right,
submitting the mask. So we are
Yeah.
using /24.
Yeah, okay.
It's clear now?
Yeah, carry on.
Great, right. So we're using /24 because we have /26 is the main subnet. So
Yeah.
to subnet that, we go /24.
16.
Okay, great. So let's create this subnet. It's creating. So VPC A, AZ1. We are using and we have used US. So we need to create this next subnet. let's remember our, sorry, go ahead. Any
I
problem?
can't create, they said my CIDR address is not within the range address from the VPC.
Okay, what was your your range, your VPC range? What did you use?
10.0.0.0/16.
Okay, and then did you, when you did choose to create your VPC subnet, did you choose VPC A? Because it's important, you, when you wanted to create a subnet, you have to pick, make sure that you pick this VPC A. Maybe you pick the, if you pick the wrong, if you pick a different subnet, it won't go. Just look at that again and see. Or let me just, let me create this again. We need to create the next subnet. So we have created this subnet. I've put it in US West 1A. For those who are using US East, that's quite okay. So I've I've used that in US West 1A. I'm going to create this one now in US West 1C because it's 1C that's existing. So just take a look. So and I'm going to create, look what I'm doing. I have created a subnet. I'll make sure that I pick VPC-A because if not, it may take the default subnet. So I make sure that I pick VPC-A because I'm working with this VPC. I've done it for availability zone AZ1. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to call this VPC-A. This subnet, I'm going to call this subnet VPC-A AZ2. And I'm going to give it to, I'm going to maintain that to, yeah, of course, US West 1C, because I need to create two of those initial visitors. So that's VPC-A, AZ2, it sits there, and then I'm going to create that. Oh, sorry, I did forget to specify the address range, which will be 10.0, remember, is this one, 10.0.1, 10.0.1, and it has to be 10.0.1, is it .0.1? 10.0. Yeah, .1.0.0/24. Yeah, just is 24, right? So VPC-A AZ2 dot, and then I'm going to create it. So let me go back, just check my subnet to see if I have that. So I have VPC-A AZ1, VPC-A AZ2. Did you succeed to correct that, Julian?
No, not really. I didn't. I'm just following you now.
You want to show your screen? If it won't take long, let's just see. If you can share that.
I'm using my tablet and then I'm using my laptop to do the labs.
Okay. So I'm very sure you can just, okay, let's just go ahead and create VPC B, right? Because that's a different VPC, and you may be able to figure out how that goes. So let's go ahead and create VPC B because it's a complete different VPC. So we have done what?
To create subnet in VPC B. That's what you mean?
No, we've created VPC B, so we want to create subnets in VPC B, right? Correct, right? So for VPC A, we have deployed subnets already. So what we have done so far is this: what we have done. VPC A, we have done this, we have done this. So now we're going to VPC B. So we're creating subnets in VPC B, right? So we're not creating we've already created the VPC. So subnet, now when I click create subnet, I have to make sure that I pick the VPC where I want that, and it's VPC B. And then for VPC B, we have to remember that our address range is 10.1. So if I come here and I choose 10.1 and I choose /24 because we are using the same subnet mask, this is how it will look like, right? So I'm going to use on our lab, I'm going to use 10.1 and 10.11 for Vpc B. So that is this one, 10.1, 10.11. So I'm going to create the first subnet, and I'm going to call it Vpc B AZ1. So I'm going to call this subnet Vpc B AZ1. And then, as I've said, from my calculator, I'm going to use the 10.1.0.0, 10.1.0.0/24, because he has to fall under here. And then I'm going to create. Then I'm going to create another one again. I'm going to make sure that it's VPC B. I'm going to call it, let me just make sure that subnet VPC B. I just want to see where did it place? Yeah, US East 1A. So I'm creating the new subnet, and I'll go to VPC B here. I'll call it VPC B AZ2. I'm going to press it in US West 1C. I'm going to make sure that it follows this address range. This is a 10.11.1.1.0 and /24. So I'm going to create that. So we're finished with VPC B. So we're going to VPC C. And in VPC C, from our labs, that's the 10.2.0.0. So I'm going to come to my subnet calculator. I'm going to change that. I'm going to maintain that at 24. So I'm going to use 2.0 and 2.1. So I come here, I'll call it VPC C-AZ1. I'll choose US West 1A. I'll choose 10.2.0/24, and I'll create that. Then I'll create another subnet, again for VPC C. This is going to be VPC C-AZ2. This is going to US West 1C. This will be 10.2.1.0/24. And I'll create that subnet. So we have created our VPCs, we have created subnet so far. Two subnets in each availability zone so far. All right. So you can actually go to subnet and just see if you have everything. You see VPC A will have 2, VPC B, there are 2, you have VPC C. These other subnets come from your default VPC. So just ignore these ones, they are always there. Yeah, so that's what we have. Now,
just 1 minute.
Any questions? Yeah.
Yes, all right.
Great. Any question from anyone for those following or those doing the exercise along? I hope it's going.
For me, it's clear.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Yolan. Okay. Okay.
Please, can I ask a little question, Mr.
Sure,
Bang?
sister. Yes.
What's subnet mask?
Subnet mask is part of an IP address, and it
Okay.
helps you differentiate which part is the network and which one is the IP address.
Okay. Okay. Thank you
Right.
very much.
Yeah, that is kind of the best explanation that I can give you. It helps how differentiate those parts in an IP address. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see that here. Let me explain that here. When I write 10.0.0.0/16, basically what I'm saying is, as I explained, you can write this as 10.0.0.0, and then I write this. This is what is called a subnet mask. It's showing that the part of the network ends at 16 here, and the rest here is used for IP addressing.
Okay. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
that's where that comes in. You're welcome. Okay. We're going to 2.3, and here we want to deploy internet gateways. So we'll deploy one internet gateway in each VPC. As we explained, we need an internet gateway in order to establish connectivity. To establish connectivity. So we'll navigate to internet gateways, and then we'll go ahead and create one. So let's go to internet gateways. I have a default one here. I'm sure this is the one that is for the default network. So what I'll do is we'll just click here, the internet gateway that we've always talked about. That's just basically it here anyway. But I think everyone knows from the introduction what we're talking about here. So we're going to create an internet gateway, and we're going to create one. Each VPC will have its own internet gateway, right? So we'll call VPC A, will have its own internet gateway, and thus we'll just allow the tag on it to be as it is. So this is just how to create an internet gateway. You just click that, give it a name, and then you create, right? That's just all. Now, after you create an internet gateway, you need to attach it. And interestingly, you already see it's already asking you to attach it, right? If you don't attach it, it absolutely means it will just sit there. It doesn't belong. So you need to attach it to a VPC. So if I click attach to a VPC, then I want this to attach to VPC A. So I have to come here and select VPC A to attach the internet gateway. So I have to make sure that I pick A. Sorry, what am I picking? Yeah, VPC A. So this is VPC A, and then I'll go ahead and attach this one. I hope that's clear. Right, I need to create another internet gateway for B. So I click create internet gateway. I'll create VPC B internet gateway, right? I'll allow everything as it is. I'll click create, and then I'll go ahead and attach to a VPC, and I'll come here and I'll choose B. Okay, we do the same for VPC C. We create an internet gateway that will go to VPC C. Internet gateway, we'll create it. And you notice immediately you can only have one internet gateway per VPC. So when I click attach, you see that only VPC C is left here because VPC A and B already have internet gateways. So you can only attach one internet gateway to a VPC. Okay. Now, after we've attached the VPCs, but remember that after attaching it, You need to ensure that your routing table is pointing to that. So go to your routing tables, and if you go, you immediately see that there are, when you create a VPC, a routing table is immediately created that will be for that VPC. A default routing table is created. Let's rename. If you look at this one, you see VPC A, VPC B, and VPC C. So you can actually go ahead and rename these routing tables to reflect your VPCs. So you can call this VPC A route table. Okay. Please, if you are not talking, you can always be on mute. That's quite okay. So let's just rename the VPC route B, VPC B, sorry, route table. And then we'll do VPC C. This will make it easy for us to know which one is which, right? Route table. Okay. Okay, so once you have your tables like that, let's look, for example, on VPC A and look at how the routing table looks like. If you click VPC A and choose the route, like we saw in the presentation, there's a default route that is for the local route sitting here, right? You can see that. But we want to have this VPC, this is the one we want to make it, this subnet, we want to make it the public subnet. So we can go ahead and attach a routing table to this, to attach the internet gateway to create a route to point to the internet. So how do you do that? You click on edit route, and then you say you want to add a route, and you pick the default that is for traffic that is meant to go to the internet. You choose 0.0.0.0/0, this traffic heading out, and then you pick an internet here. You come here, you choose an internet gateway, and it will tell you there is one here which is for VPC A, so you will use this one. That's how you attach an internet gateway to your VPC here. So you do this, then you save your changes. And if you look now, your route table, there's a route now pointing to the internet gateway, just as we saw in our discussions. So we'll have to do this for VPC B and VPC C as well. So go back to your route and go now to VPC, the routing table for VPC B. Come to route, come to edit route, add a route and pick 00, choose the internet gateway, and there's one for VPC B, and you can go ahead and save. The same for VPC C, the routing table for VPC C. Please, if you have questions, feel free. If you're having any difficulty, just let us know. If everyone is silent, then I'm assuming that you're not having serious problems. So we've created those routes to we've added the internet gateway to them. Yeah, go ahead, Yolan.
No, nothing. I was just completing your
Supporting.
statement. Yeah.
Right. No, good. Okay, so that's how we attach the internet gateway to that. Thanks. Yeah. Okay, let's go ahead now and do the interesting part. I mean, I think based on what we discussed, and what we have done at the lab now, my hope is I think I'm not looking at, I'm missing the chat. Okay, yeah, that's quite okay, Franz. Good to know. So based on what we have done so far, everyone should be able to know how to create a VPC, assign a CIDR range to that VPC, should be able to take a particular CIDR range and create subnet from that CIDR range, and be able to place them, configure them on, yeah, right, if, depending on what you want to do, place one or more. You can have one or more subnets in an availability zone, right? It doesn't mean that you can only have one subnet in an availability zone. There can be two or there can be three, just like we have done. So that's what you have. So the next step now is on our lab is we want to create launch EC2 instances on our, let's say, we want to launch EC2 instances. So let's go ahead and go to EC2. You can either go to services and click EC2. EC2 is one of the compute services on AWS. So sister, this is the interesting part you mentioned, right? We want to create an EC2, so I'm sure you like this one as well.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
waiting.
Can you just slow
Okay.
down a little bit, Mr. Banjika?
Okay. Okay. Okay, I will. Sorry if I was too fast there. Right. Uh, so, but at least everyone has the internet gateway connected, right? So, if is there a question? Don't worry if not.
No.
Okay, so yeah, let me go ahead now. So, how do we launch an EC2 instance to see what that actually is? Um, so the first thing is we go to services. I've just gone to EC2 and it falls under compute. And then I can I can click on launch EC2 instance. When I click on this, it will give me two options. I can launch an instance or launch an instance from a template, but I'm more interested to launch an instance. So I'll click on launch an instance. And now it will give me these options. Choose an Amazon machine image. Now you can look at an Amazon machine image like, I'm sure this is mostly still done when you always have your computer and someone says they want to come and install mostly the Windows operating system. They'll bring the CD, which is called the CD that they will use to install the operating system on your computer. So when they come, they use that. So the Amazon machine image in this case, look at this like that CD that you need, right, to install on your system. Now, so that's the first thing you have. It's a template that contains software configuration, right? It's defined here, required to launch your instance. We're going to use, and there are many types of them. There's the Amazon Linux. This is the one that is free. Red Hat also has a free version. Ubuntu, these are different free versions. There's also Windows, they are free, that's our free versions. And some of them are not free. The ones, they are not eligible for the free tier. Free tier means when you create an account, you have 1 year and you can use different services for free. Yeah. So there are many of them, right? But the one that is always easy to use for various many reasons is the Amazon Linux image. So this is the same one that we'll use here. So I'm going to select this. So assume this to be that CD that you put in, that you will use to install your system. So I'm going to select that. Let me mute, I think that's Franklin. Okay, so once I select that, now we remember when we have been treating the type of instances, we did talk about there are various types, and this is the next step. So after you choose your image, the next thing in your configuration is what kind of instance. Assume this like what kind of laptop do you want. This type will tell the number of CPUs, the number of memory that you have. You see, if I have the free tier, it tells me I have one virtual CPU at 2.5 gigahertz, 1 gigabit memory, I can choose, if I choose a different one, the configuration here changes. So I use T2 small, you see the memory increases. If I choose T3 medium, you see it goes to 4 gigabytes, right? So this is like when you go to buy a computer, they always tell you those are the key things that at times most people try to use to buy. But we're going to use the free tier, which is the T2 micro here, the instance type. And that because it's free. And then we'll go to, once we choose that, so we have choose our type of computer. We already know the operating system we are using, Linux. So that's the CD. So it's going to tell us how many instances we want. Now we just want one, right? Um, so this one is telling is looking now more details where you want to place your instance. And for the network, I don't want to place it in the default VPC because I want to place it on VPC A, which is the one I configured, and I want to place it on US West 1A. Let me bring that table again. I'm in the diagram so that we try to match where we are. So I have my I have my subnet here. I'm using US West 1A. So I want my instance to be in this subnet. So that's why, so now I'm picking now where I want that to live. So I have that here, VPC A subnet 1. And then the next thing is I need to ensure that it's having, where are we? It's having public IPs. Let me just pick that right. So I want it to be enabled a public IP by default. So auto assign public IP. So I'm going to enable that. And that's just basically what I can do for now. There are many options that we are not interested now. We'll be seeing that in future labs, but this is, I need one instance. I've chosen A. I've chosen the VPC, I've chosen the availability zone where I want that to go. And then I'll review and launch. I could have gone ahead and added extra storage, but that's something for another lab. Let's just go to review and launch. And it's giving a warning here on security, but I don't bother. I'm sure all of you have that as well, but for now, don't really bother about that. But you can see this is how your instances is telling you that this is if you are thinking of this as a computer that you are buying, so at the end of the day, the person you are buying from is telling you that this is a kind of, you are using T2 micro because it has different type of configuration. You are going to use a Linux system is going to be installed on it. And yeah, so those are the details. And then I'll go ahead and launch. Once I click to launch, interestingly, I don't have a key pair here. Selecting an existing key pair or create one. And I think for those of you who also don't have, you can create a key pair here. This is just you definitely need this when you want to. I'll just create this as lab 1 key. I'll just leave that like that. You can download the key pair, but I'm not sure we'll be using it, but just download it in case you need that. And then we use that to launch the instance. So let's wait and see for this to launch. So your instance is now launched. It's now launching, right? It's not yet launched. So you can go to view the instance. And we can see it's loading. I think I did miss something. I did not give it a name, but we can correct that here. I had to add a tag to it. Yeah. Okay. We can give that a name here. We are going to call this Ec2 Vpc A AZ1. You see, I'm using a naming convention that will help me know that it belongs to VPC A, is sitting at AZ1. So you can save that. It says that the instance is already running. Let's look at the instance, the details of it. We can see that it has a public IP address. This is a private IP address that it has. All the things that we've talked about. The instance is running. The instance type is T2 micro, and other more metadata about the instance is listed here. But that's what we have. So we can go ahead and create also another instance in VPC B and VPC C. So let's go ahead and create 2 more instances. It's already 10 o'clock. I want us to finish this and then see. So let's just go ahead and create 2 more instances. So this one now, we're going to follow the same procedure. T2 micro. I'm going to use VPC B. I'm going to use US West 1A. I'm going to enable public IP, and then I'm going to go ahead and launch. Right. Review and launch. I'm going to use lab 1 key 1. So I'll acknowledge I have that. So you don't need to create a key pair again. You are going to use the same key pair. You can use different key pairs, but it's better to just stay with this one. Yeah. So let's launch that. Let's view the instance. And let's also make sure you give it a different name. Ec2 Vpc B AZ1. Oh no. EC2. What's going on? EC2 VPC 81. Right. Okay, so let's launch the last one in VPC C. The same kind, a T2 micro. We're going to use VPC C, US West 1A. Auto assign that, enable. We're going to review and launch. Let's launch that using the same key pair. Launch the instance, and then view instance. Okay, EC2. Okay, EC. I don't know why my keyboard is. VPC C AZ1. Now I noticed that I did miss VPC B here. So I'll just go ahead and put B. That should be fine. So by now, everyone should have created 3 instances, or yeah, not everyone, but just checking. If you look at the lab, we have 3 instances created. We're going to go ahead and test connectivity. At least we are going to access this Ec2 instance, and then we are going to test connectivity. So we have our instance. So let's look at the one in EC2 VPC. So what is an EC2 instance? It's just a virtual machine that is sitting online that you can use it for different things, right? We have chosen a Linux machine. The next thing is, how do I connect to this instance? There are various ways you can do that. So once you come, you select the instance here. we come here and we click connect. Connect to the instance, and yeah, you're just going to click connect, and then a new browser window will be opened. It should come up. Why is it complaining? Yes, this is what should happen, and then you should be able to have you access your instance directly on a browser. So actually, this is a complete this is an instance sitting in the data centers in US. That's in California, basically in California. So this EC2 instance is actually sitting in a data center, in a virtualized, in a data center in California, right? I think everyone, if you can remember what actually, so I think I can bring this up. Any questions? Any questions so far? Anyone has a question? Everyone is okay, right?
Not everyone, sir.
Sorry.
We have some difficulties here with internet connection, so we couldn't follow up very well.
Oh, I'm really sorry about that, Franklin. I can imagine that's a frustration from your end, but so far it's been recorded, and if you have the PDF file, you can also follow the recording, and then if there are questions, just share that on chat, and we'll try to see what to do. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, yeah, that you can't follow. Any other person apart from Franklin? Someone was speaking? Everyone is okay, right? But what I wanted to show is, if everyone remembers from our lecture, we know that in each data center you have these host machines, right? And you have the instance store, you have RAM, CPU, hypervisor, and you have a virtual machine. So this EC2 instance that we have now is actually one of that virtual machine now that is sitting on top of a hypervisor that is able to allocate it the particular amount of CPU that the T2 micro needs, and a particular amount of RAM. So that's basically where we are now. You remember when we were choosing, it was the default tenancy which was shared, but this is just that EC2 instance is sitting now, and the region where we are is the one I picked was California, North California. So this is the beauty of cloud computing. I can have an instance sitting in the cloud right at that end, and I have access to it here now. I can go ahead and run any commands, like you see the command sudo yum update. This is Linux. This will be mostly new for many people, but as usual, it's not something complicated. So you can see it has access to the internet because we have this instance connected to the internet. So I can go ahead and update the sudo. If you did read the command, it says run sudo yum update to apply all updates, because every instance always require, maybe you need to update it. This is what you do in a Linux machine. And I can say, yes, I want to update that. And we'll go ahead and install all those updates. So that's how Windows Linux updates are done from the command line when you are using Linux. All right, so we'll go ahead and update all of that. And then once it's finished, it will give you back the command line prompt. This will be mostly for people who are used to working with Linux. So that is finished. I can go ahead and make the screen clear. And then, yeah, so you can, if you ping Google, for example, this is a command to test if you can access a website. It will go ahead and tell you that it's a success, right? I think we can also ping. Let's see if we can reach wifundcloud.com if our website is up. So you see, you can go ahead and check and see. So it goes, each step means that is able to access that. So this is an instance, is able to reach, is able to be on the internet. You can then go ahead and maybe configure this as to be a web server by installing the necessary web. You can install an Apache web server, or you install what is also called GINS. It's a web server, and then just run on it. So basically, that is what we can able to connect to the instance. The next part of the lab was for us to test if we can. So now that I have, this is instance EC2 VPC A1. So what happens if I need, let's go back and see how is our setting looking like. Let's look at the different settings. I just want to come back here. This diagram is always going to be important. This is what we have. We have our instance sitting here. So now I want to see if I can ping an instance in Vpc B. So this is what I'm going to do. So in Vpc B, right? So I'm going to, easy one. Okay, I did not rename that well. So I'm already logged into EC2 VPC A. So I need the IP address of Vpc B of this instance. I've said that when instances are communicating, they use the private subnet. So we're going to use this IP address 10.1.0.91. So I'm going to see if I can reach that address. 10.1. So it has to be a ping command first. 10.1.0.91. You see, when you see the ping just hook like that, it means that it's not a success. If I stop it, you see 9 packets transmitted, 0 received, 100% packet loss, time is this. So that means I'm not able to ping that. But we're going to figure out, so our next step is how can we be able to ensure that we can reach that IP address, ping that IP address. That's something that we'll look into in the next session. But I just want to, and then when we'll do that, when we'll configure security groups, configure that way, and do the other configurations, then you start to see, you start to understand why. But so that was just a test I wanted to show there. But we have been able to create an EC2 instance in a subnet that we created, in a VPC that we created, and we're able to launch that VPC, and we're able to show that it's connected to the internet by downloading updates and also reaching out to different websites that are online by using the ping command. The ping command is a very useful command if you are using even Windows, rather than maybe going to a website. If you have access only to the command line, you can use this command by just typing it, and then you can just, if it gives a response, it means that the website is up. Like you see 3 packets transmitted, 3 received, 0% packet loss. But in this case, 9 packets have been transmitted, 100% packet loss in this instance. Any questions? For those who are maybe doing the practitioner level, this may be a little bit demanding, but I hope you are able to also, but things like internet gateway, NAT gateway that we did talk about, they should be definitely up to standard. But for anyone who is at the associate level now, these are the kind of labs that you should be able to do on your own. And this is the kind of thing that you should also be able to really like understand how to create a VPC, how to create subnets, how to change your routing table and edit them in such a way that you can have an instance reaching the internet. So that's something for the associate level you should do. For someone who is in the practitioner level, if you get a good understanding, that's also very good, because definitely I know everyone here is definitely looking forward to move. So we can go ahead and move to, we'll create, it's already 10:15. The last steps is just creating private subnets. Let's remember that we have just created public subnets, but what we would have loved to do is also have private subnets so that we have a structure like this. I hope everyone is still motivated and interested to have us finish, right? Or is it too, or is it going too long? Will people want to finish that, or everyone wants us to do that? I know it's past 10. I want us to always use that. So the situation I want now is we've had public subnets, but what I want us to have now is private. Yeah, we've had public subnets. I want us to create private subnets. Is everyone still motivated? It's gone for too long. It's gone on the long side. Yvonne, how is it?
It's okay, Prezi. It's okay. I'm following you up.
Okay, now I just want to make sure if everyone is still interested so that.
Yeah.
What
I'm
about?
interested. For me, it's okay. I'm
Okay,
interested.
good. Judith, you were saying something.
Yeah, for me it's good, but the time is a bit
It's too long,
getting
right?
now on my side.
It's getting on the long side, I know.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll just try to finish this, and the next lab session I'll try to ensure I will stop at 10. What I want to do now is just to create the private subnet. But if anyone is missing this, we'll put the recording up, and then someone you can then just follow and create your own private subnet and see. Therese, how is it for you? How are you feeling about this? Hope it's good.
It's okay.
Great. Okay. What about you, Julian?
Yeah, it's okay.
Great. Yeah. And Rose and Komye, I know this is something for you as a practitioner, but how do you feel about the lab so far? See.
I joined late, but I'm following up from where I started, so it's okay.
Okay. Right. That's fine. Yeah, you can always, we'll share the recording after this and hopefully it will help. And the PDF for the labs is also available. So after that, you can use that. So let's just go ahead and finish the private labs. Private subnet, it won't take long. And if you did create any EC2 instances after the lab, you can go ahead and delete all those EC2 instances so that they don't consume your credits, but leave the VPCs and the subnets there, because as I say, we're going to be building up on this in the next labs. So let's just move to section 3, which is creating private subnets. And but before we do that, we have said that each subnet always have a routing table. If you don't do that, what will happen is the subnet will take the default route. So let's go to 3.1 and create some route tables that we'll use for our private subnet. So just go to route tables. You have to come to your VPC, because that's under okay, and then you go to route tables, and once that come up, you go to create your route table, and we're going to call this VPC A private route table. We'll be finished in the next 15 minutes, I think. And then you are going to give that to VPC A. I've called that VPC A private route table, and you just leave the tags as they are and create that. So that route table will be used by a private subnet will create there. We're going to create VPC B B private route table. This will go to VPC B. We're going to create that. Look at these VPCs can also be like in your company, it could be VPC that is meant for, let's say, finance. Another one could be meant for IT department. So you can also use VPCs and name. We are using arbitrary names here. Private route table. Leave that as it is and create a route table, right? So now we're going to create private subnets, and this is just going to be very similar to what we already did. So what we're going, our IP subnet calculator is still here. Did I miss something? I didn't use my Vpc C, so my table didn't create here, sorry, here. So I still have my my subnet calculator here, and then everything is set. So I'm going to create a private subnet, and I'm going to allocate that. So we'll go back to subnets, and we remember that a subnet is called private just because it doesn't have the default, it doesn't have an internet gateway connected to it, right? And to create a subnet, I always have to pick which VPC I want to place that in. So I'm going to choose VPC A, and then the name of the subnet, I'm going to call this VPC A private subnet. And of course, the availability zone, I'll use US East 1A. And now the CIDR block range, I'm going to use, because I've earlier used 10.0 and 10.01, you remember when I created that before, right? So I used 10.0, so I'm going to use 10.02 now. So this is going to be 10.0.2.0, and it's going to be /24. So that's how it's going to be. This is going to create a private subnet. But remember, we have just created that subnet. So we're going to go ahead and do the same for VPC C and VPC B. So go ahead and create another subnet. Put that on VPC B. Subnet name is VPC B private subnet. I'll use US West 1A. And then I will leave that as it is. Oh, I did forget the address range. Sorry. 10 dot. Since it's VPC B, that was 1. And we know that 24 here. And we already used the 1.0, so this will be the 1.2. 1.2.0/24. This VPC B. I'll go ahead and create that. I'll go ahead and create for C, and that'll be the last one. We'll be finished now. So this VPC C private subnet. Also present, yes. And we remember again, this is going to be the dot 2, right? And then this is the 24. I already used this one, so I'll use the 2.2. So with 10.2.2/24, and I'll create that. Vpc, right? Then now the next thing is you have to associate your subnets to the routing table, right? You go back to, you have to, if you go to VPC A, private subnet, if you go to the routing table, that is, because when you create a routing table, when you create um, a, a, a subnet, and if you don't give it a routing table, we'll take the default routing table, but that's not what we want. You see, it's using the default routing table, which we don't want. So you can then go ahead and do and change the routing table that you want it to belong to. And how do you do that? You go to routing table, you go to subnet. You can click on, just a moment. You have the routing table, you have the details. This VPC A. We edit routing table associations here. This is the subnet. The routing table you want to give it is VPC A private routing table. That's what you want to have. So if I save that, you see, if you choose that routing table only has traffic that stays in the subnet. So if you save that, you should be able to go to private subnet, and if you look in the routing table, you see that has only the local. So that will be the same that you would do for VPC B private subnet, because private subnet means you want if you come here, the table that it has is again this one that you don't want. So you go to edit routing table associations, you want this to be private, and you choose the private routing table that you created. Which has just the route. It means traffic will not go out. So you go ahead and edit that, and we're almost done. VPC C, that's the last one to change for the evening. You come to route table, you come to edit routing table associations, and if this was too long, just take your time to, you have the I'll share the labs are in our are available. You can try to do this on your own pace as well, and you'll be able to follow, right? So once you do that, your routing tables will now be as you want. So the configuration that we have, if we were to put that on paper, will be something like this. You know, what I could have, yeah. Let me see, based on the presentation we did. So we have a public subnet, we have private subnet. I want to come. So we have a public subnet, we have private subnet, and the routing table we have on the private subnet is only this one. On the public subnet, this is the routing table we have, and it has the internet gateway. In the next labs, we are going to add a NAT gateway on the private subnet to enable it have traffic that will help instances that are sitting in the private subnet to go to the internet. So that will be something for our next session, but that's the lab basically for today. And yeah, So basically, we've created VPCs, created um, public and private subnets, edit row tables, created the internet gateway. And as I say, for those who are in the associate level, this is the kind of knowledge you should be able to do. And definitely if someone is at the practitioner level, and if you are used to doing labs and you follow and you can do this, this is really, it helps you really understand most of the things that we've covered. For those who didn't miss the presentation, I'll share the PDF file for the presentation and the recording as well. And I'll just encourage everyone to look into this, because if you are talking about the cloud, the very first thing you have to know is how to set up a VPC. You have to have a very good understanding of how to set up a VPC, the public VPCs, how to choose the CIDR ranges, how to subnet that. And I've just shown in steps how to use the IP subnet calculator to choose your ranges. So don't bother about the arithmetic that comes if you don't understand, but that's something that we can always do. But you must not know, no one sits to do the manual configuration. You can always use the IP calculator. So make this your friend, know how to use this, and you won't be really bothered. Okay, that was it for me.